remember the first night realizing, like, and I felt it for a while, we're a bunch of 18, 17, 18, 19-year-old people thrown into a dormitory, just living together. Like, there are no adults in this building. The like RAs, the resident assistants, are just older kids. Like, they're just a couple years older than us, or sometimes 1 year older. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Wolfie from Wolfie Plays, and today we have a very special guest, the wonderful, amazing. You may know him as Manny has in chat, but the real name Manuel, med student and best friend for nearly 10 years. He's here to join us. How you doing, Manny?
Doing well. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, happy to have you. Did I do that intro right? Anything else you'd like to add?
Oh no, that was more than enough. And we'll talk about everything.
Yes, we will. Mrs. Wolfie says hello twice.
I see. I see.
Yeah, cool. All right. So yeah, I want to have you on the show. This is my first of my kind of attempt at like a podcast-esque series of interviews and hanging out.
Right.
And the first most important question is, do you like the set?
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I love the Wolfie chats with the emojis.
So proud of that.
Yeah, no, I love all the I just love the whole setup. I love the desk. I love the fact that I'm like right there. It's like a newscast kind of thing. It's cool.
Yeah, that's my hope. I want to have it like a newscast feel to it. So I love having you over here. I'm digging it. I also like looking to the side and actually looking at a computer. It's good.
Yeah, no. And I mean, actually, I have the chat open next to me. So whenever you see me looking, I guess, to whatever direction this is.
Oh, yeah.
That's me looking at the chat.
Yeah. So my first question is, we first met back in college. Do you remember your first impression of me?
So I'm trying to think. First impression. Seemed like a fun guy. I mean, you were quite sociable at the time,
That's fair,
and I mean, still very sociable. But seemed like a fun guy and very friendly. I think though it was actually quite early on when we started hanging out because we were at a diner grabbing lunch with other people in our hall. And I remember someone brought up World of Warcraft, and you just jumped on it, and I was like, other people who play World of Warcraft, let's talk about it. And we ended up talking about it later, and
that's right.
And yeah, we're fast friends.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, so for anyone watching, like me and Manny, we went to the same university together, Furman University in South Carolina. And we were on the same hall. We were what's that, like, hall mates? Is that the word, hall mates?
Yeah, hall mates, floor mates.
Floor mates? I think floor
mates.
I think floor mates is the right word. Maybe. We're mates. We're buddies anyway. Whatever you call it, we're mates. Yeah, that's right. I remember talking about I remember we had a lot of discussion about World of Warcraft. That was
we had a lot. That was the incipitus for the friendship. It evolved from there, but it definitely started with World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's something we both share, and almost like the memories, like the war memories of just like, man, World of Warcraft. It's not a game; it's a lifestyle.
It is very much a lifestyle. I expressed many times my dislike of rogues.
Oh, that's right.
Specifically, gnome rogues,
which is one of my main characters.
One of his main characters, still to this day. It's okay. It's okay. You know, not everyone can be perfect.
Well, I didn't like orcs, especially orc warriors. One of the worst combination.
Yeah, but you know, orc warriors at least have honor. But anyway, it's okay.
That's fair. All right, we'll save that for later. Yeah,
it's all right.
That's cool. So I don't remember our first like conversation very well. I just remember like our first weeks. I remember like a bunch of memories together.
Yeah, I mean, I think our first real conversation was probably at that diner. And then there were many conversations after that. Our first interactions were very much around video games, things like that. And then, I mean, pretty early on in our first semester, a lot of us on that hall ended up going and getting Skyrim because that was released that
That's
November.
true. That was a big event.
Yeah, that was a big event. We all stayed up till midnight, went and got it, came back. Because I don't know if there was digital release at the time.
There was
You
actually
have to
it
buy
was on Steam, but I ordered a physical copy of the book. I had the physical guidebook.
That's why.
And I remember going to the
remember.
GameStop at with a huge line of people, and they're like going through just they were just getting the game ready for every person. And I went through and I showed my
Yeah.
pre-order. I'm like, oh, I just got the book. And the guy's like holding the game case. He's like, both? I'm like, no, just the book. I got it somewhere else. Okay. And he was like confused, like, why are you here? Like, why'd you even come if you just want the book?
Yeah.
Like,
Pick it up tomorrow.
yeah. He seemed quite confused. But that's right, because we were freshmen in 2011 when it came. It came out on 11/11/11. Skyrim did. Back when
Yeah,
it was just
fantastic.
when it was first released. Not the 88th re-release, just the first time it came out.
No, just the first release. Arguably the best release. But
I agree, and I really feel like you're right. That was the time, like our entire hall, like because at that point, you know, we'd lived together for a few months. We'd all like seen each other. We had one of the smaller halls. There was only like what 13 of us.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you know we got along with each other, but that was the moment where everyone's like, "Yo, you guys want to play Skyrim? You guys want to play Skyrim?" And then yeah, we all got them, and we came back to the room like the next few days. We're all playing, just days.
It was very nice. It was so much fun.
It was.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those perfect storm with games where like the game itself is of course really good, but it's also the memories around it and the people you talk to. That was really fun.
Absolutely. And I don't know. It was such a fun time, and I think we had those experiences too, where like we'd go to each other's rooms and just play video games, and like streaming wasn't really that big of a thing at the time.
Yeah, I don't
right.
think
There
it
were just a few
was.
streamers. I think PewDiePie was just starting.
That's right, because we
just
watched the
starting to, like,
PewDiePie his
the Amnesia, right?
Amnesia,
or was
yeah.
it Tobuscus?
It was Tobuscus. We watched Tobuscus.
It was Tobuscus at the
Yeah.
time. And that was really fun, right? Because we were all too scared to play Amnesia.
Oh yeah, I was
so we
too
decided
scared.
to watch it.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to say welcome in Raiders, welcome in Silent Deadly TV with the raid. Thank you so much, friend. We're having a nice little discussion going on down memory lane. So yeah, just want to say welcome real quick. Silent Deadly, thank you so much for the raid, friend. And welcoming new guys, I'm Wolfie, and this is my friend Manny. We're talking about life.
So stay a while, listen in.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good conversation.
Yeah, well, think of questions you have. We'll go through questions later on. So yeah, Skyrim was a big thing. Yeah, around that time, streaming wasn't much of a thing. I think my roommate at the time, Matt, he had dabbled with some streaming.
Yep.
Yeah, he dabbled with a bit. I think at that time, before Twitch was around, it was Justin.tv. I think was the old streaming service.
Oh yeah.
Many of you probably don't remember that.
No, I mean Twitch wasn't really. It was either that or YouTube. He would upload their videos to YouTube.
Right, YouTube was really hitting in stride with gaming content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Justin TV though, I think was for a little. I never used it much. I went on a couple of times because my roommate had used some. Yeah, but then Twitch came around. Twitch is elevated. So college. Did you like college?
College, I think for both of us, was fun time, but also a tumultuous time in the sense that we both academically just did not excel at all. Other things were important. Video games, the Uncrustables, those were a big thing.
Okay.
Right. Chocolate.
Oh God, chocolate. Oh my God, chocolate. Do you want to tell them about the chocolate drawer?
Oh yeah, so Cody Wolfie had. Is it okay if I call you Cody?
Call me Cody. Yeah, because I guess that's kind of weird because you've known me as Cody for most of the time.
Yeah, I can say Wolfie. It's fine.
Yeah. Whichever comes first.
Wolfie had a snack drawer at his desk. It's like it's like one of the smaller upper drawers. No. It's one of those big bottom drawers. You need all that space to fit the amount of chocolate that he had. And we're talking like the big Hershey bars. We're talking those like really big Reese's eggs. Honestly, actually, at one point he had like a big Reese's bunny.
That bunny is so good. I can feel my like blood pressure going up just thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, so no, he had every kind of chocolate you could imagine. I would say his favorite would be Reese's, followed by probably Hershey's, probably followed by. I mean, he generally stopped there, but I mean, there'd be always different types of chocolate in his drawer. But those are the top two for sure.
That's true. That's right. I definitely think Reese's is my favorite, and you cannot find them in Japan. You can't find them in Japan.
Yeah, no, I brought them a lot when I visited. But yes, he had a chocolate drawer. I did not resort to chocolate drawers. I just resorted to 2 large burritos and like 2 PB&Js for lunch. Yeah, that was my go-to.
Good lunch.
Great times.
Yeah, mine was Pop-Tarts. That was my lunch alternative. If I didn't have lunch, I would eat Pop-Tarts all the freaking time.
Always so gross to me.
Really?
Like the chocolate I get. The Pop-Tart, dude, it's like dry, stale bread with like a little bit of something inside.
There's some cream inside. Yeah, s'mores Pop-Tarts and hot fudge sundae. Now, I had my first s'mores Pop-Tart last when I went back to America, and it was my first one in years, and it was pretty good. There was still a little, there's a little bit of like, I couldn't, after college, I had Pop-Tarts. Seriously, it was my meal replacement. And I would have it like sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. I'd have Pop-Tarts, maybe just 2 times a day at most. So there was a time after college I couldn't eat them anymore.
You remember you used to drink those like little meal replacement shakes?
Yes, the protein shakes.
Yeah, it was like not Pediasure. It was like
a Nestle. What was it?
It was like called Nestle, whatever.
Instant breakfast.
For like
just
really old people.
Oh.
It was either for like infants or really old people.
It was not for infants. It was for like just anyone who wants to not have a, just.
I'm pretty sure it was for like kids who aren't meeting their like growth milestones. And you were just like chocolate milk.
It was chocolate milk flavored. They had like strawberry, vanilla. Okay, chocolate milk was so good.
Yeah, you saw the word chocolate and you just like
I was addicted.
Just went for it.
And you're right, I did have a chocolate drawer, and it wasn't. And this isn't like the top drawer, which is like for pencils and small. Like it was the bottom drawer, full of chocolate.
Bottom drawer.
I would give it out like
it was.
I don't know. I felt like a gangster lord. Just give it like, here you go, have some chocolate on the house. Remember, I did
what do you mean
something nice.
Giving out chocolate?
I mean,
what is this giving out chocolate?
Well, I could give out chocolate, I guess.
You could have, for sure. But did you? That's
not
different.
often.
That's totally.
It was often just
not often. It was a pry it from my dead hand kind of situation.
I mean, that's true. It definitely was something I kept close.
Yeah, no, we were both pretty hefty in college.
Yeah.
So college was more of that like we were the students who you see in like just in the back of the classroom, intelligent but not really paying attention, not really putting in any effort, slowly eating themselves to death and gaining like not a freshman 15 but like the freshman like 40 50.
Oh my god.
Wow. But still, it was a fun time.
But isn't college just crazy? Like, it's such a wild time where we are like 18-year-olds, and as a 16-year-old, I felt pretty adult. At 16, I'm like, I'm an adult. I'm 16. I know the world. I didn't know schnitzel. I didn't know anything.
Yeah, no, you don't know anything.
And at 18, you feel like 18's a weird place. I feel like because you're legally called an adult. You can legally consider yourself an adult. However, you still don't know much of anything, like in terms of what real world is. And I hate using that term. I hate people always tell me like, as a kid or as a student, there was like, wait to get into the real world, as if a way to invalidate my experiences then. Like everything I do now is just
Right,
play.
right.
Like the real world is what matters. Which I don't know. Some of it makes sense. If you mean like a working regular life, that makes sense. But it is a little belittling.
Yeah, I think that's what people always mean, like when you're earning for yourself. But I mean, it just depends. Some people before they get to college have very real experiences,
Yeah.
um, and I just think it depends person to person. Like I very much when I entered, I very much did not have any real world experience. Well, uh, any maturing experiences until the end of
Right.
college and like after. I think that's what people kind of refer to, and I
Yeah.
think that some people can very much have maturing experiences from a very early age. I think it just depends person to person. Like a child can develop, can have cancer, right? That's a very maturing experience.
Yeah.
A child, their parents die. That's a very maturing experience.
Yeah.
Um, there are so many things that can cause someone to mature, but I think that just kind of varies person to person. People often say, they equate like the real world with like a job, and that's probably because it is a maturing experience.
Right.
Um, but
Yeah, there's a different kind of
but definitely,
responsibility that comes with
exactly. No, college is
providing for
definitely one of
yourself.
those times. There's not really anything going on.
Yeah, and it's such a
You're there to study.
yeah, you're there to study, but how much studying do we actually do at college? Like, I
We
mean,
did it.
yeah, quite honestly, yeah. There was
Yeah.
it's I remember the first night realizing like and I felt it for a while. We're a bunch of 18, 17, 18, 19-year-old people thrown into a dormitory just living together. Like there are no adults in this building. The like RAs, the
Hmm.
resident assistants, are just older kids. Like they're just a couple years older
Yeah.
than us, or sometimes 1 year
Yeah.
older than us. Because we actually did hall staff.
Absolutely.
We did hall staff the following year ourselves.
We did. We did.
Yeah, and
But
that's wild.
it is, and it's one of those things where um, I don't know. Some people go in with a really strong sense of what they need to do, and they do it well.
Hmm.
Um, but I think for both of us, our maturing happened towards the end, if not after college.
Yeah,
Um,
that's absolutely
you know,
fair.
you yeah, you got that job to go to Japan, and that's kind of when things that was like the new chapter for you, and it
Mm.
then just like nice trajectory. For me, it was getting into grad school. That was kind of my turning point.
Right.
Um, but we all have those kind of experiences. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
I agree,
Um,
and I know people like I college was fun, and I've had people be like, "Oh, yeah, that's good. Would you want to go back?" God, no. I like now so much more. I enjoyed college. College was really fun, but I like having a life. Like I like working a job and getting money. Like getting money for the time I'm spending. That's awesome. Where at college, I was spending countless hours. Well, I could have been spending countless hours studying and just stressing over stuff. And man, I feel like after college life has been so much better. But college was really fun. I liked being able to I do miss being able to see people at any time. Just like walk across the just two doors down, knock and be like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" That was kind of nice. I enjoyed that just casual feeling. And there also was like, especially when like midterms or exams came around, there was this pressure that everyone shared. Everyone felt a bit stressed or like worried, and it was kind of nice having that kind of camaraderie where everyone else is also dealing with
yep,
their own thing, but we're all dealing with stuff together.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. And I think you kind of that's a education thing. I feel
Hmm.
like at any stage of education, whether it be undergrad, grad school, or any kind of professional school, you experience that. That's just it's like you're in the trenches kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So definitely, I mean, there's definitely a strong sense of camaraderie with college. With I think as you progress, it gets a bit stronger. Uh, just because it ends up being a smaller size class, and so you know each other a bit better.
Yeah, yeah.
Although we had a pretty small size class in college,
We did, yeah.
as far as colleges go.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I think my biggest class in all of my year, like my smallest class was probably I think 8 students, and it was like one of the like final year classes, like a senior seminar.
Yep.
And then my biggest
Yep.
one was a scheduling mistake they had where they booked 2 classes around the same time, and it was astronomy. And so they actually had to merge 2 astronomy classes together. And it was still only like maybe 50 students, 40 or 50 students. And that was like
Hmm.
the biggest they did. Um,
Yeah.
and there might be
Yeah.
some exceptions, maybe some first year classes were about as big or a little bigger, but
Yeah. I would say that I would never see it. I don't think you'd ever see a class bigger than 50 students.
yeah. We went to a
Yeah.
lovely private college, and they pride themselves on making sure everyone has like enough teacher. They pride themselves on having a good teacher to student ratio.
Yeah. 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 It was a good place.
Yeah,
Good education.
it was.
We didn't take advantage of it, but it was a good
That's
education.
right. Cause so about that, yeah. It wasn't until about 4th year I think I figured out how to study.
Hmm.
Until then, I was just coasting by because I came from I came from a small town in elementary school, a small elementary school, and of course I was like the top student, which is like yay. Of 20 students, I was number one. Whoa. And then I went to high
Right.
school and I was like, oh, okay, there's more competition. And I started giving up in high school. I didn't try as hard. I was one of the kids, I'm sure you know it,
Right.
where you're smart enough to coast by so you don't have to like push
Yep.
yourself as much. And then you
Hmm.
meet other people like, oh, this is like bigger schools. And you're like, oh, high school, like, oh, some more competition. And then college, God, there's so many like clever, smart people. And God, I didn't realize till later in life where like being smart is a great thing if you use it well, but being disciplined is so much more valuable. Being able to work diligently, I think, is so invaluable and nothing and something I had not practiced or worked on for a long time.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And I think everyone can have discipline. I think it um it takes some reflection and
Yep.
it takes. I mean, you have to have the desire to want to do something. Um, right. You have to want to wake up early. You have to want to
Yeah.
go to the gym. You have to want to do well academically, or else there's no real driving factor. Um, and then, I mean, once you have a desire, that's following it through is the discipline.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. And it's so important to have that desire as opposed to that like forced. I think deadlines
yeah,
and stuff can like a fire under your butt can be encouraging in some ways, can like push you forward. But man, you gotta want things. And sometimes I tell myself that where like I think like I need to exercise, I need to exercise. But then I'm like, no, if I say I need to, then it feels like this third party like obligation. And that's not it's demotivating because I feel like I have to and I'm not doing it yet. But if I try to
for
spin it,
sure.
say like I want to. If I say like oh, I want to exercise, because and I keep telling myself I want to actually, it helps me get in the mindset of like no, I want to. It's for me. It's because I want to, not just to meet some
For
goal.
sure. And I feel like for a lot of people, it's also a factor of, um, a lot of people think, they say they can do something, oh, I know I can go to the gym whenever I want. I can get an A in this class if I really tried, and they're probably right.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like people don't believe the words that they're saying. Like, it's like, I know I can do this, but then when push comes to shove and you don't do it and often enough, right? You
Mm-hmm.
like
Right.
you've been saying for the past 3 months you're going to go work out, but you just don't do it. At some point, I feel like you just start believing that you actually can't.
Yeah.
And I feel like half the battle is starting to believe in yourself and say like, oh, I actually can do this. And just taking that first step and saying, no, we're not going to go sit on the couch. We're actually going to go get up and go exercise, do something, walk for 10 minutes outside, do something. I think it's taking that first step. And something I like to always tell people, and this is more for people that I mentor is like,
Hmm.
in medical school and whatnot, is that, if someone like me who graduated college with like a 2.4 GPA can get into med school, then anyone can do anything kind of thing. Like,
Right.
anyone can get into
Yeah.
med school kind of thing. Like nothing, there's no reason why if you don't set your mind to something, you can't do it. It's just a factor of believing yourself and then just once you start believing in yourself, actually following through and pushing yourself to do it.
Yeah.
I think.
Amen. That reminds me of a quote I read
Mhm.
recently where that's like, if you knew success was guaranteed, what would you try to achieve? And I thought that's really
Mhm.
interesting. If you knew that you could achieve that goal, what would you
Mhm.
attempt? And that's interesting. And of course, not every goal can be, it's not a blanket statement for all goals, but there's that idea of like, if you can imagine yourself succeeding. And I think you're totally right. I think a lot of people can't imagine themselves doing something or succeeding or doing things. And so they have trouble placing
Mhm.
themselves in that position.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens a lot. I mean, it happened for me. I'm sure. I'm sure it happened for you.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, you just don't succeed enough to where you just think, "Oh, I guess I can't really do it." Now, you don't tell yourself that, but that's essentially kind of what you're thinking.
Yeah. Right.
Um, so you just kind of give up. But I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's one of those things where anyone can really do anything if you just set your mind to it. It's. I mean, people say it all the time, but I feel like it's one thing to say it. It's another to actually kind of believe it.
Yeah. I agree. You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta try, gotta do things, and you'll be surprised how things
Yeah.
can turn out. And actually, I learned recently. I saw a video where a guy was talking about how the act of making like a list, like making a list of activities to do, can sometimes be
Mhm.
counterproductive and not helpful to you because psychologically, and maybe you can tell me more on this if you have an idea, where like when we imagine ourselves doing something, we imagine ourselves like we make a list of like things we have to do. When we imagine ourselves doing it, it's similar in kind of connection to actually doing it. So it feels like, yo, we did something. Like, oh my god, like I made a list. I did all these I planned all these activities. And imagining you doing that makes you feel like you did something and accomplished something. But really, your
For
net
sure.
success is nothing. You haven't done anything yet. You may have organized your thoughts, and the list can be helpful. But if you walk away for like, I made a list. All right, Netflix break. You haven't done anything yet. You've just planned.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like that's a trap that so many people fall into, right?
Mm.
It's like, um, for example, I mean, in this kind of, it's the similar vein of what you're saying, which is like, and I feel like so many people can relate to this, where you say you're going to wake up at 8.
Mhm.
Okay, let's say that's a reasonable time.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up at 8. I'm going to go on a 10-minute run. I'm going to come back, have some breakfast, and then let's say you're a student. I'm going to study this
Mhm.
until lunchtime. Okay. Um, then the next day you wake up not at 8. Let's say you wake up at 10, 10:30.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, oh, well, I woke up late. My day's kind of already a little washed. I don't know if I'm going to go on this run. I don't know if I'm going to
Yeah.
have breakfast. I don't know. Should I even really study? It's so close to lunch. I might as well just kind of, I don't know. I might as well just like spend this morning relaxing. Don't stress out. Don't stress out. It's no big deal. Um, and then you just kind of waste your morning.
Mhm.
And then you have lunch, and that's the afternoon. And then you think, well, it's already the afternoon. I kind of have other things to do. You know what? I will study. And it's only like 1 p.m. It's like, you know what? Okay, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 8. I'm going to study
Yeah.
this thing I need to study, and I'll do it. When really, if you just stopped, said to yourself, like, oh, it's okay. I know I was supposed to wake up at 8, but we still have time. There's so much time. You just get up, you sit down, and you actually study for like an hour and a half. I mean, it's really better than nothing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the same mentality where you make a list. Sometimes the list is a little overwhelming. Sometimes the list just like, I feel like the times when we say to ourselves that the list is an accomplishment is the times when we just don't want to tackle the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's like okay, I made this long list. That's good. I'm proud of myself for making this list. I'm gonna go relax now. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I feel like too often it's one of those things where like um, you need to be kind to yourself. You need to give yourself the space to like say, it's okay. You didn't. it's okay to fail. It's okay to misstep. It's okay to not achieve your goal 100%. It's like it's okay to fail for anything other than a lack of effort, right?
Right.
And it's one of those things where, like, if you are kind to yourself and give yourself the space to do well, um, uh, then essentially, right, you all it takes then is just being disciplined.
Yeah.
And being kind to yourself doesn't mean giving yourself like the space to say, oh, okay, well, it's okay if I take a 2-hour break and watch Netflix.
Mm.
That's not really what being kind to yourself is, because
That's treat yourself. That's
that
spoiling yourself a bit.
that's kind of spoiling yourself, right? Being kind to yourself is like not being too hard on yourself
Yeah,
when you
I think so.
misstep or whatnot.
Mm.
But it's not being intentionally undisciplined.
Yeah. But you're totally
Yeah.
right. It's so easy to set the bar, like this is what I want to achieve, and then as soon as you fall short, just giving up. I
Yeah.
totally get that. Yeah, I'll try tomorrow. You know what? I'll just try again tomorrow. Like that's
Yeah.
such
No,
a
try
shame.
right now.
It's easy to fall into that though. So easy.
Yeah. Yeah. No better time than the present.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's that kind of mentality that I think both of us adopted after college.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does wonders for you. I mean, personally, professionally, it's life changing.
Yeah.
Just put a little sprinkle of discipline in your life.
Right, just make yourself, and I try to tell myself that, like, I am not particularly talented. I'm not exceptionally talented at anything. It's so easy to look at these people that like, all right, here's the thing I've been thinking about a lot recently, which is the pressure you get from seeing social media and seeing all these people with their like best lives and seeing all these successful people that are like, at 18 they build a clothing brand. At 16 they wrote their first symphony. At 11 they made a program that's super amazing and can change the world. Like, what? There's all these amazing people that do things. And part of that's I believe it's confirmation bias, where you are seeing it. Because you see it, you feel like that's very common. Like, oh, there must be a lot of people that are successful at 20 or 19 or 18 or 10 or 20. At 3 years old, they're amazing. But that's not necessarily the case. The reason we see those is because they are standout and interesting, and they make the news because they're noteworthy. But just because some people are successful younger doesn't mean that's you're any further behind just because you might be older and less at that level.
No, not at all. I think that's a bit of sure confirmation bias. I would say that's just you're comparing yourself to exceptions. I would say.
Exceptions. That's it. Exceptions to the rule, and that's why they are seen and more, publicized.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I would say that 95% of people.
Guys, write this down. We're getting stats here.
Who are publicized. 90% of the people who are publicized don't do it intentionally. Rather, 90% of the people who do something great, not just publicized, who do something great, significant to the point where they are written about and they are known, never do it with the intention of being great or well known. They just kind of do whatever they want to do really, really well. Really, really well.
I think that's totally right. I think that's a good point, where a lot of the people that do make it aren't trying specifically to make it big. It just works out the way,
Because if you're trying to make it big, I feel like perhaps you may, but you're not going to stay big for long.
Yeah.
Just my own opinion.
I think you're right. I've noticed that with Twitch and some of the other social media stuff. Like, of course, I'm trying to grow like my brand. I'm trying to work on making like ℂ𝕃 and ℂ𝕃 Plays kind of more of a thing. And by not looking at the numbers, I tend to do a bit better by not
Yeah.
focusing on the number of viewers or the number of average. Like I try to, I do sometimes. I get obsessed, especially in the beginning, where I'm like always checking like how many views did I get, how many stuff, just to, as a way to reaffirm that I'm doing well or doing something positive. But I'm trying to shift away from that. Like I'll look at numbers like maybe once a week or every couple weeks when there's like enough data to like see a trend. But I try to avoid the numbers and just focus on making the content and just focusing on like how can I make this stream interesting? What can I do differently? How can I make things more fun? And by doing that, by focusing on that stuff, it's and worrying less about like how do I become big? It's been easier.
Yeah, and I think that it can sometimes hurt more than help if you try to focus on becoming big, because then you're focusing on the wrong thing. That's secondary, right? You're doing
Yeah.
something that you enjoy, and you're just trying to be the best you can at the thing you enjoy. You're trying to do the thing you enjoy well, and by doing that, that's all you need, right? That's, at least you'd hope, that's all you need.
Yeah, if you can love the process, then you can. If you can love the process instead of loving the results, you can tend to do better, I think.
Yeah. I just have to believe that, if you do your best and you work hard to be the best at what you want to do, everyone can achieve greatness.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I want to do one last college question, which is if you could give advice to freshman Manny, the first year if you could give some sort of advice to yourself, what would it be?
Watch what we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, just
literally just watch what we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes. Give me a call. We'll talk for like a couple hours.
Yeah,
I'll give you some advice that you really need to hear, and then we'll call it a day. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
probably the timeline would shift. Yeah, there'd probably be no coronavirus. There'd probably be no.
We would have figured out world hunger. Everything would have been better.
Exactly, everything would have been better.
What if? Would it be great if actually like you did that? You did something like, all right, I changed things. I did it. You come back to your timeline, and the only thing that's different is like your glasses. Like you have a different pair of glasses.
Oh yeah,
and that's
exactly,
the
right.
only
that's
change.
The only
that's all you accomplished.
Same thing. Right now, it's just a bit rounder.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be wild. Or you're sitting like 1 inch to the left or to the right. It's just That's all I did. That's all. Dang it, younger me. Why don't you listen?
Yeah. And then I just look in nothing really has changed. I'm in the same spot. And I look on the news and I see, oh, Australia's gone. Cool.
It's just gone.
Just gone.
Well,
gone.
I made a difference.
I made a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Would you say something to your freshman self?
Man. It's hard to say because, of course, I feel like advice is an interesting thing where, like, we all want advice. We, like, look for advice sometimes, like on websites or books or things to help us, but we usually don't take it.
Yeah.
We still stumble upon it ourselves. I don't even know. But I guess the only advice, the thing that would make me feel better would be, like if just reassuring myself, like, hey, everything's going to work out. Don't worry. Don't stress so much. It's going to work out. Just keep doing you.
For sure. For sure. Everyone needs to hear that at some point in their lives.
Yeah. I think that's it. Just focus on you, which I try to do now too. A lot of things tend to work out. Like, it's so funny to look back like 2 or 3 years and I didn't expect to be here. I didn't expect to be where I am 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I didn't expect this. And every year I think about that, how different things are. And I'm excited to see in 3 years from now. I'll be 30 in 3 years. I'm going to be 28 this year. So I'll be like, I'll be hit on the way to 31 in 3 years from now.
We're almost there. There.
And I'm excited, honestly.
30s are the new 20s.
Yeah.
Can't tell me otherwise.
I agree. I'm hyped for 30. 30 is I'm so hyped for 30, honestly. I know people are like, I want to hold on to my 20s. But no, I'm ready for 30. I'm ready for that age of just, I'm not like a stupid 20-year-old anymore. I'm out of that, like, people respect me a little bit more because I'm in my 30s.
There you go.
I also have, like, my life is, like, it's not figured out, but, like, I've got I got enough experiences behind me and still enough youth and liveliness in me to like continue doing whatever I want, pursuing
Yep.
anything. Yeah,
I agree.
speaking of pursuing
I'm
stuff,
excited for it.
speaking of pursuing stuff, you're in med school. And we had a question
Yes.
earlier in chat from Natharan, which is, what year of med school? How far into it are you?
A second year.
Okay.
Our school's a little interesting, where it's a year and a half. So med school is separated to two parts.
Okay.
You have typically your first 2 years is what they call preclinical curriculum, where you're just learning everything.
Mm.
You know, you're learning how essentially not to kill someone.
Very important. Very important for doctoral work.
Very important, right? Then you take an exam, really big exam, kind of sucks. And then your last 2 years are spent seeing patients,
Okay.
and kind of learning the ins and outs of seeing patients, and really refining your knowledge base in more of a practical sense
Mhm.
of day-to-day things, less basic science, genetics, things like that, more real practical medicine. And for my school, it's a year and a half and 2.5 years.
Okay.
So the first year and a half is that preclinical curriculum.
Mm.
So I'm in my second year, but I will transition to seeing patients in beginning of March.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Are you excited?
Very. Studying is terrible. It's
I bet.
it's soul draining.
Right? Oh, I bet. I remember
Yeah.
thinking once, like doctors, you're expected to be in like the 90%, like 90 and above at least. You know, you're expected to be quite high up there
For what?
for just grades in general, like academics. Is
Oh,
that fair?
yeah. Well, again, as I said, if I can get a 2.4 and get into med school, anyone can get into med school.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, but
I
there's
mean,
a lot of
okay.
hard work there. Yeah,
Let me
like
preface that.
you
Let me
did
preface
work
that.
hard.
Let me preface
Yeah.
exactly. I probably should preface this a little bit. I did have to study really, really hard to do well on the entrance exam.
Mhm.
Then also do well enough on that exam to get into grad school, get a 4.0 in grad school, then also do research and things like that, and apply with an application that entices medical school to give you an opportunity. So there are steps in between the 2.4 and the med school. But point being, if you work hard, no matter what you have behind you, you can achieve whatever.
Yeah. No matter what point, no matter what at low point it feels like, you can still work your way back up.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. Don't try applying straight with a 2.4. You won't get it.
Yeah. Because you also did a lot of other internships and things as well that helped.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did grad school. I did research for a year and a half. Lots of things in between college and getting to med school that certainly didn't hurt.
Yeah.
There were more requirements.
But I had the same problem. Like undergrad, especially the first couple years, like hurt my GPA and hurt my like academics. The first couple years, I think I don't remember my final. Because I blocked it out, but I don't remember my final grade. I think it was like a 2.56 or something. Like it was.
Yeah, I think we were pretty close to each other.
Yeah, we're pretty close to each other. But again, similar journey where we both like struggled in undergrad a bit. But after that, I'm a teacher now. I'm an educator. I had like an okay score, but now I teach children, the next generation.
That still bothers me. That's still, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I don't blame you. I mean, even me, I'm like, I'm allowed to be a teacher? Is this allowed? I have a license.
Careful.
I have a license that says
you
I
don't
can do
say too much on stream. You may be, they may just say, "Oh, this guy's my teacher." Oh,
yeah. They're like, "Oh, really?"
I'm about to really. Okay, well, contract rescinded.
Contract rescinded. But that's the thing that like it. I feel like grades, and I try to impart this on my students. Where like grades are useful at kind of measuring your progress. It's like a loose measurement of your progress. And I feel like it should be very personal because the C that like if this student gets a C versus this student, like they mean different things. For example,
Mm.
my brother wasn't great at school. He just wasn't. He just had trouble focusing and studying stuff. Where for me it came easy. I was pretty good at like doing schoolwork. So my parents expected him, they would hope he would get B's and C's because he could. Like that was him working hard, he could get those grades. And so if he brought home a C, they were happy. If I brought home a C, they were kind of worried about me because I could do A's. So they kind of saw it as
Mm.
like your potential. Like I can do A's, so they kind of expect that. They hope for that. And my brother could do B's
Yeah.
and C's, so they expect and hope for that. And I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
think of it as unfair because it just seemed like, oh, okay, different people, different expectations. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. It should be more personalized, I would say.
Yeah, personalized. So I tried to I because I've had those kind of experiences in school myself, I try to impart that on my students where like they ask about tests, like what's gonna be on the test, what's gonna be. I'm like, don't worry about it. Like everything we learned in class, if you paid attention, if you've been awake, you probably will do okay on the test. So don't
For
worry
sure.
so much about it. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So is med school? How do you compare it to undergrad and versus graduate school? If you could like do a quick comparison.
Sure. Undergrad is very much a time for connection and socialization and growing. You'd hope as a person, um,
I think that's fair.
and you're kind of exploring. You're exploring, right?
Mm.
You're exploring subjects. You're exploring people. You're exploring yourself.
Mm.
You're just learning about the world and yourself and the people around you,
Yeah.
essentially. Grad school is a bit more focused, and different grad schools are very different things. Mine was more of a science kind of thing, where it's you could go on to a PhD, but it was really meant as a bridge, a gateway to professional school, and it was, I would say, a lot more focused, and a lot of my peers were also on similar trajectory of trying to get into either mostly medical school, some dental school.
Okay.
And you all have very similar interests, similar passions. So it's a very different experience, right? Because in college, you meet people with all different kinds of
Right.
interests. And that's what makes it interesting for sure.
Mm.
I think grad school, it also had its appeal because then you all get excited about the same things. And it's nice. You connect on a way that's different from undergrad.
Right, because
And then
education is very much a pyramid, where like the higher up you go, it's more focused in whatever you're studying or
definitely, definitely, for sure. And then professional school, in my case, medical school, um, it's very much, again, I mean, very focused. It's for a purpose, right? So I think in undergrad, a lot of people suffer, at least I did at times, because perhaps aren't as interested in the subject that you have to take as a mandatory if you go to like we did to a liberal arts school.
right. Yeah.
Whereas in professional school, it's very much for a purpose, and generally everyone is very passionate about that topic. I mean, studying sucks no matter what you're studying, but at the very least, it makes it a little bit easier, the fact that you like what you're doing and going to be doing. And so I think for myself and a lot of my peers, professional school is just it's um, it's about learning a craft, essentially what it comes down to, right? You're learning how to do something, and you're learning how to do it well. And there's a bit of a learning curve, but once you get over that curve, it's you never really stop learning in medicine because science and all of this stuff, it keeps going forward and forward and grows and grows and we get more knowledgeable. But
Right.
and that's part of the excitement too. But I would say professional school is focused is the word I would use.
Okay.
It's a much, in some ways, in some ways not, but in some ways it's a much more mature environment. More is expected. You're expected to be a professional in that environment. And so, which you know, a lot of people, I mean, you kind of have to excel at, but a lot of people struggle because a lot of people are coming straight from undergrad. And I don't know about you, but right out of undergrad, I cannot say that. I mean, professionalism was never really my weak point,
Mm.
but discipline certainly was.
Yeah, I feel
Uh, and I feel like you need that. The further you go in education, the more discipline you need, because the intensity of the work, it just increases at every level.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I agree.
so
And at college, a lot of the responsibility is upon you for your grades and everything. And so if you slack, you can kind of get away with slacking too. But I feel like in more professional environments, there's expectations and responsibility put upon you from other sources as well. So when you do slack, it's not just you that's falling behind. It can be hurting others
absolutely,
or the image of you. Oh.
yeah, absolutely. It's also, I mean, I think for medical school, it's one of those things where, and you'll never really be. You'll never really be in a position where I feel like people often say, "Oh, well, you have to study hard, right? So you don't kill any patients." And I joke
Go
in that
on.
sense because you're never really going to be in this situation where you can do harm to a patient unintentionally.
Okay.
You're always going to be supervised. You're always going to have nurses and physicians around. And physician assistants and so many medical professionals that you'll likely never really make a mistake unless you do it intentionally. And so so there's no it's a very fostering environment. But it is intense and you have to study hard.
I bet.
That is for sure.
Yo, I have the
Yeah.
utmost respect for you. And I also think it's really cool. Like you've always wanted to be a doctor, right? That's been a
Yeah.
long-term dream for you. And I think that's so cool. I think it's so cool when I meet people who like have a dream and then they do it. Like that, there's a lot that happens between like having a goal or a dream and then getting there. And so many people, myself
For sure.
included, just like change. I'm still like, again, I'm 27. I'm still not entirely sure what I want to do with the rest of my life. And that's something that's important where I don't have to do one thing for the rest of my life. I can do many things. I'm doing teach now. I'll probably move on from teaching, do something else. I'm really loving streaming. I'll probably do streaming for a while, as a good side hobby.
Yeah. And I mean, and there's a freedom in that. It's I think oftentimes people like myself get kind of envious because it's like a labor of love in my sense, right? Like I'm very passionate about it. I love it so much. I cannot imagine doing anything else. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you can't help but sometimes be envious of the people who just get to travel the world, right? Who get to live in a foreign country for years and just work and live and experience their and just really live their life. They say medicine requires you to quote unquote sacrifice your 20s.
Okay, I see that.
And it's just one of those things where there are pros and cons to both.
Absolutely. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just pros and cons.
No.
Wonderful.
You can never do no wrong for following your dream.
And speaking of fallen dreams, I want to double back a little bit to college for a last little conversation bit, which I want to talk about the thing that helped cement our friendship and bring us together, which was our mutual passion and addiction to World of Warcraft. Bro, World of Warcraft was so good. When we met, we had both been off of it for a while, right?
We'd been off for a little while, yeah.
I played the most when I was in high school, or I guess I was
Yes,
8th grade. When I was 8th grade, the summer before 8th grade, I found World of Warcraft. And as a overweight, short, pimply faced kid that could be a gnome rogue or a human warlock or what else did I had a druid, a Tauren druid, and later a druid night elf. Like being able to have these cool adventures and interact with people online was life changing. It really was interesting. It was the first time at that point. It was 2000. I guess it was summer 2006 when I was playing World of Warcraft, and I think it had been out since 2003 or 4, just a few years. I started
Mm.
before the first expansion, Burning Crusade, came out. And man, I loved it. I loved like it was my second MMO, my first being RuneScape. So that was a classic. But
Mhm.
yeah, World of Warcraft was great, and being able to play games that interact in a living, breathing world, long before there was like Group Finder for dungeons, where you had to
Oh,
just
yeah.
type out and be like, "Does
Yes, yes,
anybody
yes.
want to do this dungeon?" And then when you do have a group, you have to like summon people or like wait for everyone to get there.
It was so much harder to find to get a group because people would be picky, and I
Yep.
mean, I just would avoid dungeon quests in general, um,
Yeah.
just because oftentimes you just couldn't find a group.
Right.
Um,
And then trying to
and when you
level up a
do,
tank
you
or
have
healer, trying to level up a tank or healer where you have to do group content basically was such a pain in the butt.
Mhm.
Man.
Yeah. And for me, honestly, I was really bad when I very very first started.
Mm.
I had no idea because there wasn't really. There might have been like a guide, but I never really read guides. To this day, I don't read guides. I don't read manuals. I don't. If you give me like an IKEA furniture, I'm just winging it. Um, so I didn't know that my orc warrior didn't wear cloth. Um, and I didn't know that intelligence was. I'm like I want all the intelligence. Give me all the intelligence. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, you can be a smart
What do you
warrior.
mean? And so I remember going to tank for a group because I was an orc warrior, and I had like I think I had like a robe equipped with like high intelligence stat,
Yeah.
and like I think I had like a staff or something, and like when I got to the front and I got to the group and to the dungeon, they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Why? What? Why are you? Why are you wearing a robe?" I'm like, "What's wrong with the robe?"
It's got good
They're like,
armor. It's pretty good, I guess.
"It's not. It's like no. Put on some like chainmail." So at the time, I didn't have enough. I wasn't high enough level for plate.
Oh, that's right.
Um, and then we go into the dungeon. Whatever, everything's fine. And I see, ooh, there's a robe that's better than the robe I have right now. Let me get it. And there's like 2 mages in my group,
Oh
and they're
no.
like, "Why are you taking the robe?"
Mhm.
I'm like, "What do you mean? It's great. I could use it." They're like, "Give it to me right now, or I will end this group." Like,
Yeah.
all right, fine, you can have it. And it wasn't until later that I found out that I was the one being stupid.
Right, but you don't
Um,
know. And that was the fun part of
no,
it. There weren't readily accessible
yeah,
guides. You had to like really hunt
no.
things
Now
down.
it's very much hand holding.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's very much hand holding when you play the game. But I mean, that's fine. But no, I mean, it was such a fun game. I started Burning Crusade, so I think I started '07.
Okay.
Um, and oh, I loved it. I mean, I love the game. I'm a big RPG fan.
Mm.
Um, and enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the story. Uh, and it was honestly, it was just another way not to have to study, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was addicting though. Like they
Absolutely.
don't call it WoW crack for no
Mm.
reason. Um, yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, you have a test tomorrow. Just 1 more hour, 2 more hours,
God, yeah.
2 more hours. Because it never ends, right? It's an
Exactly.
ongoing thing.
It's made to be that.
Um,
There's never quite an end to it. Like there's always more you can do. And which is so dang. It's just so it's endless. And I remember waking up on weekends. I remember waking up on like at 10 o'clock, 10 or 11 o'clock on Saturday. So, that was like when I was younger. As I got older, it'd be like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock afternoon.
yeah, I
And
was
I
gonna
would
say.
wake up, go to the bathroom, go sit at the computer. Maybe grab food first, and then go sit at my computer. And I'd play all
Absolutely,
day until 3 or 4
absolutely.
in the morning.
Oh
And
yeah, oh
yeah.
yeah. No, playing all day was an accomplishment. It felt so good.
Yes.
Now how does it feel?
It feels terrible. I can't do it anymore. I sit for an hour and a half. Like if I like that's my kind of like limit, like an hour and a half, and I'm already getting like a little uncomfortable pain. I gotta walk around, I gotta move, and I feel defeated now. Like sometimes if it's a good game, if it's like a really good, like I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles just beat it last night after about 88 hours of gameplay time. Freaking awesome. But
ever played it.
some of those, yeah, you might have missed out. I don't know. Might have had some chance. Maybe had some friends that played it. They probably could have helped you. I like that game. I could play. I one day I'm on summer vacation. I played it for like 7 hours in a day, and that felt good. But I took some breaks in between that time. I can't do marathon gaming anymore. Twitch is like the most I do, like 3 or 4 hours, like 4 hours in a row of playing something. But I just can't do it as well. But man, back in the day, high school, like that was a good day. I spent like a 48-hour weekend and spent like 40 of those hours playing games. It was a good weekend. Productive, I would say.
Very good weekend. Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. And at some point, my parents caught on that I was I wasn't studying. I was just playing video games. Well, specifically World of Warcraft. And I think, and they were like, you know, I'd find corners of the house where they just wouldn't be, and I'd just like play it in secret. It's like, I promise I'm studying.
And you're on your computer. I need more cloth armor for my orc warrior.
Exactly. So no, I mean it's definitely but you know, hey, not to knock it. People have met their significant others on that game, and made lots of amazing friends. And
I would say overall it was a net positive experience. However, like we said, like it was addicting. And there were times, and when I stopped playing it, I think in high school, like a couple times I'd like quit for a few months, came back. But some point during high school, I thought like, I can't play this anymore. Like this is all of my time. And most of it's fun, but sometimes it's just like, I just gotta play. It's any addiction. It's any addiction where like there's this feedback loop of enjoyment, and I'm getting an endorphin hit every time like I level up or I get like some new items and stuff. But there's so much time in between those good moments where I was just like killing time and not getting any benefit from it.
For sure.
Yeah. Then I quit in high school, and it was in college when we talked about it. And y'all, like you had a similar experience where you'd play it for a while, quit it. What was your quitting moment? When was it? Was there any like a
was my what?
Your quitting moment? Like, do you remember like what drove you to just like, I gotta stop?
I didn't really quit until probably like I think I had breaks, but I didn't really quit until mid college.
Okay.
Yeah, like probably I would say, because I mean even you and I would play.
We went back together
sometimes in college. Yeah, we did restart it. I think I would say I said going into college I did not want to play it.
Yeah.
And then I met this lovely soul, and we were like, you know what? We'll play just a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we would have like 6 month spurts of like playing, and then we'd like leave it.
Yeah.
And then and the next expansion would come. We'd play it for like, and again 3 to 6 months, and then leave it.
That. I feel like we've reached a healthy point to
that. Yeah. You experience it. But I don't know. I don't think. I think this is gonna be the first expansion that gets released that I'm probably not gonna play at all.
Okay. And I think, since Mr. Pandaria, I've played Mr. Pandaria. I played the next ones. I played a few of those. This last one I haven't played yet. Blades of Azeroth.
I played. Battle for Azeroth.
Battle for Azeroth, not Blades.
I played every expansion since the second one.
Okay.
Burning Crusade. And I mean, I can't say I played the entire expansion. Like I barely played any of Battle for Azeroth.
Right.
Like I played.
But you popped.
I don't think I got to the max level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I even got to the max level. But I played a little bit of every expansion. But I think that's I'm at the point of no return in terms of that game. I think there's not really any time for it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely have time for TV.
I know.
There's time. I'm not trying to scare people away from that school, but
it's such an investment.
It's a matter of priority. It is. If that's your priority, that's your like you will make time for it, but it's not really my priority anymore.
Yep, I feel like when I've thought about going back to MMOs, and the last one I played was Final Fantasy 14. Which after
Mm,
World of Warcraft, I played that after I graduated college and had some free time, and so I played that a lot, and I
yeah,
really liked it. Um, but again, it's just like when you play an MMO, it kind of becomes your only game for a while,
absolutely,
and some part of
absolutely.
that's kind of nice, like, oh, I can just focus on one game. But yeah, there's just no ending to it. And again, it's fun in moderation, but yeah, I don't feel like I have the time for. I think about it now. I look at MMOs like World of Warcraft, like talking about World of Warcraft. I'm thinking like, what if I go and play again? But then I just imagine like
Mhm.
I got to spend like hours a day, doing stuff, which I don't know if I have time for that. I'd rather play a bunch of different games and have some different experiences and stream some different
For
games.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I feel like if I ever did go back to video games, it'd probably be like I'd probably get like an Xbox or PlayStation
Mhm.
and just play something like that on the fly, just whenever I have a
Yeah,
chance.
I recommend
Um,
Switch. Highly
huh?
recommend Nintendo Switch.
Or the Switch,
Mhm.
exactly. Um, I would say though nowadays most of my free time is either spent uh, with friends or outside. Just before this, I was out playing tennis for a couple hours.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
um, or like watching, like anime or whatnot.
Nice.
So, fitting Warcraft into that or video games in general, a bit tough.
Yeah, I feel you. It can be tough. And same, I've
Mhm.
been spending a lot of time streaming. I mean, the streaming and doing stuff on like Instagram and Twitter and stuff, like a lot of it has just taken up most of my free time, which has been nice. It feels like a productive hobby. I feel like I'm learning new
For sure.
skills. I'm learning like, design and doing some cool little things. So it's been a very productive
Yeah.
hobby. And I'm addicted to that. I'd say that's my healthy addiction recently.
Health addiction. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm. Did you see
Um,
did you see Joe Rogan recently? I think he talked about video games. Um,
I know this got pretty controversial.
yeah.
What he said.
He was
I
quoted
would
for saying it's a
say,
waste of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it sounded like it was slightly out of context,
It was.
but regardless, but
Mhm.
regardless, I would agree
Mhm.
that uh, with
Mhm.
more so the sentiment that if you find video
Mhm.
games are addictive to
Mhm.
you and it's gotten to the point where it kind of inhibits your progress in life,
Mhm.
even if that means I mean, from anything like socializing, social activity, things like
Mhm.
that. If you feel like it inhibits like uh, normal activities, excuse
Bless you.
me. Um, but then I feel like it's a problem, right? I feel like
Mhm.
and you should be able to tell when it's a problem. Like if you feel like you need to go play, or
Absolutely.
so I feel like even successful
Mhm.
streamers, it's there's a healthy balance,
Mhm.
right? I'm sure they love to play video games, but
Mhm.
it's love. It's not. It's like a healthy love. It's not like a toxic kind of relationship where you need it
Yeah.
to survive. You need it to feel happy. You need
Mhm.
it to feel accomplished. Um, I think you can make a career out of it, of course, but I do think that there are a lot of people out there who video games sometimes fill a void. Um, um, and I think for those people, it can be unhealthy.
Absolutely. And if you watch the video, which I did to get the full context, um, it's it was definitely taken out of context what he was saying. He was saying that if you video games are fun and they're addicting. And if you do just that, if you only play games, you don't really get anything out of it if you're just obsessed with just playing games. And I think he's
Mhm.
totally right. I love games. Play games my whole life. I'm a gamer. But everything he said made sense. And if you also look back into his history, which I didn't know until I read up about it, but he used to be addicted to games. So he's coming from a place of
Mhm.
actual addiction where when the first person shooter Quake was around, he spent
Mhm.
like hundreds and hundreds, up to thousands of dollars getting like the best computer he can, getting the best computer, getting broadband internet at the time, just to get a just milliseconds better of ping just to play better.
Mhm.
He was obsessed. This was all he was doing, and he wasn't accomplishing anything else. So he gave an example
Mhm.
of like if you practice like I think it's like jujitsu or something. If you practice the skill after 3 years, you have a skill. You could like do classes, you could do stuff, you could do something with that. Versus if you play video games for 3 years, you may not get anything out of it. You just end up playing 3 years of games. And he's
Yeah.
right. I think he's absolutely right. I think it's definitely a point. As you said, video games can fill a void or they can be satisfying. And he's not talking about just playing them in your free time. He isn't saying that just like, yo, if you play in your free time, come up home from work, come from school, play a bit. Yeah, that's totally fine. He was talking specifically about just obsessing. That's your life. You build it around, I just play games. Yeah. Which, anything in excess is unhealthy.
And with anything, video games, food, Netflix, even things that are good for you, you can have an unhealthy relationship with, right? So like even exercise, people can take it too far, right? Like exercising all the time, like that's
you can end up doing more damage than good.
Where, like, you feel exactly, or it's like you feel like you have to exercise, like you need that body or whatnot. Like that's an unhealthy relationship, right? Anything good can become unhealthy. So video games aren't good or bad. It's just how you approach it.
Yes,
it can be good or bad.
Yeah, within reason. And people can, and he actually mentioned it too. Like you can build a career of it. There are gamers. There's like only the top like 0.01% of gamers actually make a income off of it. Make a full living wages off of it. There's a lot of people that want that. I mean, of course, I dream of it too. I dream of like, what if I could play games for a living? But within reason. So anyway, this has been good talk. Before I let you go, because I appreciate you being here. Are there any questions in chat? Do you guys have any bonus questions you would like to ask our boy Manny?
Ask anything. I'm an open book.
Yes, and I've really enjoyed this. I'd love to do this again sometime.
For sure.
Because we have a lot more topics we could cover.
Oh yeah, I mean you can ask whatever you guys want. Medical things. I don't know.
Yeah, we could do video games, medical, college, about our experiences together. We have quite. One day we should make a list of kind of like some memories and funny things to talk about. We got a first question from Dark Alex. Manny, what do you think is the worst class in WoW? This is a good question. What is the worst character class in World of Warcraft? And why is it Orc Warrior?
It's definitely not Orc Warrior. Let's see. I'm gonna say. So here's the thing. I'm biased. I hate rogues. I hate rogues with a passion because I feel like, at least coming from a PvP server, which is now changed. They changed the system a little bit. But anyway, coming from a PvP server, rogues are just douchebags.
That's fair.
Actually, you know what? I was about to say no offense, but you know what? Offense intended. I don't know. It's like one of those things where there are too many times where I've been shanked by a rogue or sapped and then shanked.
Oh, like the sapping. Like, I remember that. Because for anyone that doesn't know, in WoW, the rogues can go invisible. They can go completely invisible. So you don't even know they're there until they start attacking you. And especially on a PvP server, which you played most of the time, like it's open warfare anytime.
And specifically for a gnome rogue, the reason why I hate that specific class is because gnomes tend to be a little bit faster, and also they're small. So when you're trying to like attack them or click on them or do anything to them, they're just running in circles around you, just keep stabbing you, and you can't do anything about it.
And troll people that are like to troll, they're more likely to go for a gnome rogue because they are kind of trolling.
Very much likely to go for a gnome rogue. Any rogue really, but gnome rogue for sure. So yes, worst class in terms of the personal hate, gnome rogue for sure. I I think every class that they've pretty much become. I would say Hunter is one of those classes that actually kind of sucks, but also I really like Hunter because I love the idea of having a pet.
Yeah.
But it's still, the class kind of it's not the strongest class.
Yeah.
Have you seen someone go
Oh,
from a very
here's another
social
question.
person to
Yeah,
more
Nathran has a good question. Have you seen someone go from very social person to more antisocial person throughout med school?
I would say I've seen both.
Mm-hmm.
Someone antisocial become social, and someone
Mm-hmm.
social become for sure, definitely. I think it's one of those things where this is a stage where people can be competitive. Typically these days less so, but still competitive. Again, there's this exam that you take at the end of your first couple years. Very, very big exam, very difficult. It kind of defines the limits of what you can be in the future, career-wise. So it's like, the better your score, the better the specialty that you can get into. So like, if you want to do anything in surgery, generally you have to do really well.
Right.
And a lot of people, it's a lot of pressure for a lot of people depending on what you want to do. And so people often think sometimes, okay, I don't really need friends right now. What I need is to study and do well. I think that's a bit short-sighted. I think it can be a bit damaging mentally. But yeah, definitely, people can become antisocial when they get to med school. They have a goal in mind, and they just kind of say, I don't really need anything other than achieving this goal.
Yeah, they just focus on that.
For
And
sure.
honestly, I did that a bit in college, where I was very social the first year, like social overload, where I was always like every night I was hanging out with people. Every night I was hanging out with people, always having fun. And it was fun, but I definitely noticed by the end of the year I was feeling a bit more exhausted from that. Because I'm an introvert. I get my energy from being by myself. I like to be by myself, play a game, read a book, just be alone. But I felt like I don't know. I felt a pressure where like I wanted to be out and about and like I'm here. This is my chance. I should be socializing. I should make myself go out and do this. But I didn't necessarily have to do that. And by the end of it, I was like, no, I don't have to worry about people. Well, one fear I had was like people might not like. They might be disappointed that I'm not going out or something. They like want to hang out with me, or they won't. They might turn away from that. But honestly, yeah, I like alone time. And so then eventually I found a balance where like I like hanging out with people like once a week, maybe a couple times, but I just need some me time.
Yeah.
I don't have to be a social butterfly.
For sure. I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, I feel like introvert, extrovert. I do think that there are certain personalities that are that lean towards those kind of things, but I don't know. I think I've come to this kind of mentality that introverts and extroverts are kind of more or less the same people. It's just a matter of. I think it's a matter of certain things. Like I think for me, I used to be more of an introvert because I would have a lot more, not too bad, but a little bit of social anxiety.
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
feel you.
being around people was a bit tiring, right? Because I felt like a little on guard at times. And so the times that I could just kind of relax and unwind and like be myself were the times when I was by myself, right? I didn't have to worry about putting on airs for anyone.
Yep.
And that kind of changed when my mentality towards it changed and was kind of like, I mean, the whole point of having friends is that you can kind of just be yourself and just kind of chill around them. You don't have to say anything. You just sit there.
Yeah.
And that's when I think being around people became a lot more engaging, a lot more fun, a lot more energizing, fulfilling. And I think there's still something to, just having kind of your own time. I think that's more of a decompression thing, more than anything. But I think, I think for me, the lines are a little blurred between introvert and extrovert, and I feel like they probably are for a lot of people too.
I agree. I think people tend to think that introverts are antisocial or that extroverts are like overly social, when that's not quite the case. The best example I've heard is that it's how you recharge your batteries. If you're introverts, you can have so much fun at parties and do things, but you prefer to recharge by yourself and get that energy back, and then spend it with people. And then the inverse being
Yeah.
extroverts, which you get energy from being people. When you're with people, you feel excited and energized, but when you're by yourself, you feel that kind of dipping.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
spectrum. Yeah, people all over. I found myself
Mhm.
changing. I think I'm at the core introvert, but I am happy to interact and socialize and be upbeat and stuff. And so whenever I tell people I'm an
Mhm.
introvert, they're like, "Really? You are?"
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, and last question from
Yeah.
Nathran again. You mentioned mentoring students earlier. How did you get into that, or what is the interest behind that? What's mentoring students like?
Oh, it's. I mean, it's nice. It's just it's kind of like doing whatever I can to be a good resource,
Mm-hmm.
source of advice, and just it's a lot of also like helping people um, learn from my mistakes, really,
Yeah.
and make sure. I mean, a lot of people don't even need that. You know, a lot of people kind of have a good head on their shoulders, but
Mm.
um, I think for me, the part of the motivation for doing it is because um, I think that again, a lot of people, there are a lot of students, especially
Mm.
who are trying to get into medical school, who just aren't being given that opportunity. And I think that that's just more of a product of the system more than anything. They keep upping the standards, and
Mm.
you miss a lot of really talented people when you do that.
Yeah.
And I think
I
part of my
agree.
motivation is to try to help those talented people
Mm.
uh, get get to where they can and should be,
Mm.
um, like I did. So I think that's kind of the motivation, and it's great. It's very fulfilling, um, and uh, it helps. It's reaffirming too.
Mm.
You know, helps reaffirm the progress that I've made in my life. So
Cool. How do
it's
you
good.
find this? How do you
Good
find
support.
people? Do they like? How does that work? How do you make
It's
connections?
there are different ways. I mean, so sometimes um, it's through like family, friends.
Mm.
Other times it's through facilitated interactions through the university,
Mm.
or the nearby colleges.
Okay.
They'll have like pre-med fairs,
Mm.
and I'll attend those, and students will come talk to me, and I'll talk with them. We'll
Cool.
exchange information.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes it's current medical students. Current
Mm.
the new incoming first year students just started now a few weeks ago, and two of them. Usually people get one. I took on two because there were uh, a limited number of mentees available, so
Okay.
I took on two students.
Mm.
So it's just one of those things where there are always opportunities to help someone.
Mm.
Um, and so I just kind of jump at those opportunities.
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, as a teacher, I get that. I get that kind of.
Hmm.
It's satisfying helping someone who's younger and looking to you for advice. And you of course, like, we don't got it all figured out, but we definitely know the struggle that they're going through, and so we can kind of relate and share like,
For
well, this is
sure.
how I got to this point.
Yeah. No, and I want to eventually use my career and the success that comes with that as a platform
Mhm.
for people with similar Black backgrounds that we had, where you just for one reason or another didn't do well academically, but it
Mm.
doesn't mean that you don't have potential. It doesn't mean that you cannot be great.
Yeah.
And I feel like too often they're kind of thrown to the wayside. It's like, nah, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna take you. I'm not gonna give you a chance. And I feel like I want to try to be a voice for those people so that they can have a chance,
Yeah.
um, because they should.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a broken system where they aren't really given chances.
Yeah, I feel like we as a society look towards these like perfect top 0.001% people as like this is the kind of models to go for. But not everyone's like that. A
Mm,
lot of people are human, believe it or not, and stumble upon their way and have
mm,
problems and then overcome them or don't overcome them, or and it's such a spectrum of things. And I'm hoping
mm,
through like conversations like this, for interviews like this, we can talk to people like that, such as yourself, that And me, I can share my own stories about that, where like there are a lot of times I've stumbled and stuff because like for social media, like we present ourselves, we choose how to present ourselves, and tend to just show the highlights. And I love being vulnerable. I love explaining like stumbles and problems and stuff because that's relatable and I think fun to share. So I look forward to more of these conversations. So
Same.
yeah.
Same.
Well, guys, if you can, please at Manny Has, who's in chat. I think you're still. Can you like say something so people can at you?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Sure.
just like type some out so people can at you easily. Yeah.
Hello. Wait, let me spell it right. Wait, hello.
Wonderful.
There you go.
All right, bro. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for helping me with this.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was fun. I mean, this is just a normal conversation for us.
Yeah,
but
it's just chatting.
it was fun having it on in this platform. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good to have you. I hope to have you back again sometime.
Anytime. If the people want me, I'm happy to come back.
I'm sure they do. I mean, I want you. We could make this a thing too. Yeah. So, guys, thank you for watching. We're gonna switch over and play some marbles now, do some other stuff. But if you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm gonna put this on YouTube. So for all my YouTube people, what's up, YouTubers? What's up, people? Welcome. And yeah, and if you want to hang out with us personally or see interviews such as this, check out Wolfie Plays on Twitch. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Any like personal stuff? Any like charities? I don't know. Anything you're working on? We'll work on that next time. We'll have like a charity planned up.
The only thing I want to shout out is to my boy Wolfie over here.
That's me.
Yeah. Just you know, I think he's working on some content for things, and he has ideas. So if you stick around, I think you'll get some cool stuff in the future.
Yeah. Especially recently, I've been really up in my game. I've been switching from more just playing games to some more variety content, and it's been going well. People seem to like it, so I'm gonna keep going that way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Maddie. And hey, I love you, bro. Love you so much. Thank you for helping with this.
Love you too, bro. Of course, man.
You just gotta have a big group of friends who are more attractive to mosquitoes than you. Hypnosis. Missed. I want you to growl at me, daddy. Growl at.
NANI?
I'm sorry, why did I say growl at me, daddy? I meant growl at me, Mary. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say growl at me, daddy. I meant just growl at me, Mary.